want to talk about making a movie because I did that. I made a movie, a feature length movie. So when we talk about feature length, I'm talking about like what you would go to the movie theater and watch like a long movie. That's feature length in the context for me. So what's up? My name is Sasha. I'm not selling you nothing, so let's start there. I literally was standing here and I had on this shirt and I was making fun, like telling my husband, like, let me talk to you about cinema and making art and story. And then I realized I was actually dropping some good knowledge. So said, let me do it live and play with this and see what comes about. So we're gonna go through real time like happenings. And if somebody joins, cool. So making a movie with $0, let's talk about how it happens, how it gets done, what we should do, where to start, right? So the first and easiest thing to realize is we need to start with sorry, I can't write, I'm not, thing. We need to start with an idea. So with our idea, I want you to keep in mind the fact that you got $0 to do this, right? And to do that, we need to keep in mind certain things like having minimal locations, having minimal actors, ideally having controlled locations. A controlled location, an example is like a house, an apartment, somewhere you have access to. If you yourself know that there's like an auditorium that you can use for free because you got the homie that whatever, then cool, let's put it there. We want to have ideally a controlled environment, minimal actors, as we said. And yeah, if you could get that, then you're off to a very amazing start, okay? Because the fewer company moves, that's when you have to move all the equipment, all the lighting, and set all that stuff up. The fewer times you have that going on, the better for your schedule. A lot of movies back in the days that kind of follow that, and they became like cult classic movies and stuff, they tended to fall in the genre of like horror films. Um, and like one of the most iconic, super low budget films is like the Blair Witch Project, right? But you also had other films that did the same thing. They were maybe shot over a long span of time, but it had those same elements. If you go and look up like Google. I don't know them off the top of my head because, like I said, I just impromptu did this. But if you go and Google like iconic films that were made for a super low budget, you'll see that through line for the most part. So we have, let's say, minimal locations. I'm literally gonna say like one to two, and then minimal characters. Um, you could say one or two. If you do a film with one person, that's a whole nother thing. So let's say two, three, maybe max-ish, in terms of core characters, anti pro tag. And then minimal locations, minimal actors, and then controlled locations, ideals. Because also control locations are ideal because also remember if you go to shoot in a park or something, a cloud passing completely changes the environment and changes the way the actor looks on their face. Then you have to wait for the world to change. So you want to have that. Okay, so now we got our basis for idea. You can take a lot of different stories and turn them into existing within the parameters that you have here. So let's say you want to tell a coming of age story, right? Coming of age is someone coming of age, like someone growing up, someone going through a turning life experience as a part of life and adulthood and adolescence, whatever space of life. Um, for this example, let's say it's a high schooler, high schooler kid, and they are trying to figure something out. Maybe the whole parameter that it exists in is within their after school job, right? Maybe they work at a convenience store. And so the whole thing takes place inside this convenience store. They come into the convenience store, it's after school, they navigate like that's controlled. You have one location. It could be ideal because you could keep it to 1 to 2 characters max in the store at a time. And you have minimal characters, and then you can have everything take place from there. So that was weird. Okay, we're back. Hopefully, y'all can see my board. Can you see my board? I don't know. Let's see. Let's get you guys fixed. Let's get y'all fixed up. Okay. We'll see. Um. Hopefully, if anybody chats, I'll be able to see it. But I don't think anybody's watching. Anyway. Okay. So you have your idea. Now you write out your script, right? So we go from idea to script. If you are like me, I tend to vomit out scripts. Like I'll have an idea, and I usually like to work with the method of save the cat, but whatever writing framework you like to work within that. But I'll take this, I'll create a beat sheet. So actually, let's put in, let's let's add, right? Let's add makeup beat sheet. Well, beat sheet. And then from the beat sheet, once I have that broken down with my beats, like where are we going, what's happening, inciting incident, we're in the second act, etc. Then we go to script. So we get our script done, we have our first pass. At that point, I like to send my script out to friends, different people, usually people that fall within the range of my target audience for that project. So, with the film that I just did, my feature open house, my target audience is women, more specifically mothers. But yes, women, anybody that has fractured themselves from their identity. Um, so anyway, we make our script, we send it out, send it out, send it out, get feedback. I remember one of the things that I got feedback on, somebody called a piece that I thought was quite romantic, very corny, and I was hurt my feelings. Anyway, while you're getting notes back, if you are also producing this besides being the writer, then you will start to create a deck. So now your deck is what you're going to use to convince people to let you do this, to let you do the thing that you're saying you want to do, which is make a movie. So your deck is going to have a cover image, right? Cover image. It should really represent how you want the movie to feel. You're going to have your log line on the next page, which is just going to be like a 1 sentence, essentially, breakdown of what your movie's about. Then, and keep in mind, this is all very subjective. Different people do their decks differently. I can get more detailed if anybody actually likes what I'm talking about. Um, and you can always reference my actual deck because I did put it on my website that I used to raise funds and that I'm still continuing to use to raise funds. So you have your deck, you have your log line. I believe in my deck, next I either had the characters or maybe I had the synopsis, but whatever. Characters. We want to put our antagonist, our protagonist. We want to have a page with our For me, I had locations in because I knew what type, like what I wanted the locations to look like. Synopsis of the movie, so we have like a breakdown. Um, I also had my thoughts as the writer because I was the writer, producer, actress. And you also, I had a director, um, kind of like a director's note, which my director then just spoke about like what he wanted to do with the project, etc. Now, things that really help you make your deck stand out is you want to highlight what you do have and what you can make happen. So, for example, one thing that I use my deck in a way that I feel like was really helpful is I use Shot Deck, which is a website that has all these images from different films. And I'm totally doing a disservice, but you can use Shot Deck to get images that support your deck and support like the characters you want. So if you want a black woman in a flowy dress, you can literally write that on there and it's going to pull you up as close of reference images that it can find by what you're describing. And sometimes you have to tailor your description, right? But you can do that. So you tailor your description. Can y'all see? There's nobody here. Anyway, you tailor your description, you create the shot deck, and you use that to get images. Now, images. Now, I was very specific about getting images that were from the same type of camera that I intended to use for my shoot. Now, I knew what kind of camera because the person that I had spoke to about DPing had this camera. So my DP had a camera, and that's something that I included in my deck, letting them know, hey, we have a camera and we have lenses that will create a very beautiful, refined look. And that already incentivizes people because they want to be a part of something that's going to look good. You know what I'm saying? Like, good a long way if you can show people that your stuff will look quality. So talk about what you had. I had the script. I had a DP already signed on, which that was a whole nother pitch I could talk about another time. He had camera and lenses, which we did end up using a whole different camera, an even better camera because of a pitch, because of a way that we wanted to shoot. Whole nother story. Talk about that some other time. But cool. So I included shot deck. I talked about my DP. Um, we had a partnership for our insurance. So you will need to get insurance if you're an independent filmmaker. Now there are websites that you can get short-term insurance through, and it could be a couple $100. But also you could potentially partner with some people that have insurance and that can extend your insurance to you if they believe that you won't mess anything up. You know, it's a part of this whole thing. It's relationships. So, um, I had talked about having an insurance partner and what else? Yeah. Okay. So back to the deck. So we have logline, characters, location, synopsis, writer, director. I also included my distro idea of where I wanted to go festival wise. I included my target audience with data that supported that my target audience would watch my movie. So I included data to say that, and then I included a how can you help page. And this included everything from, depending on who I was talking to, I would change this page to say location. So I was able to secure our locations for free. Amazing, beautiful locations. And thankfully, things aligned where they were also interested in supporting something if someone like had a vision that could come to them. So for locations, it was that. When it was casting for certain people, I sent them my pitch. I guess like, hey, I need help with casting. Can you help with that? And being able to get the support and the help I needed based on who I was talking to. I would change my deck to fit each person. So are there like 10 versions of my decks out there? Absolutely. They got to make it work. So, okay. I'm not going to go too much deeper in this. This could be a whole video in itself. But you're going to create a deck, make it look beautiful, make yourself think about all the things. And first and foremost, believe in what you're talking about, because you're making this movie, right? You have the gusto about it. You feel like it's something important to say. You feel like it's something important for the world to know. Be that person in front of the people that you're talking to and ask them for what you want to ask for. Don't mull it down before you speak to someone. Don't you know say, oh, can I maybe pay this much, whatever. If you don't have it, I never hid the fact that I don't have any money for this. This is just something that I am doing. Not that I desire to, I am making a movie and I would love for you to be a part of it. And this is how I'm gonna do it. So do that. I use this deck to get my departments. So what were the departments that we're talking about, aka Le Crew? So we had our DP, which is our director of photography, person with the camera. We have our director. We had producer. We have sound. We had a sound mixer. And they did boom as well. They have AC. That's assistant camera. And you know, it's super helpful to have that person because, like, I mean, it's always great to have people in the indie space. If you can have hybrid people that are well versed and actually care about the multiple departments, then having them on board is helpful to keep things efficient and to keep things small. And our AC was amazing. So AC, then we had grip slash gaffer swing, which was a swing person is kind of moving from department to department again. What is that, like hybrid? Being a hybrid um, filmmaker and artist right now is like so incredibly valuable. And if you can do that, you can win right now in this chapter because it is becoming incredibly hard to make anything. I feel like Barry Jenkins just said that. And he made Moonlight. I believe he just said it's incredibly hard right now, and it is. But if you're a hybrid and you can make a movie with nothing, then you could certainly make a movie with a lot of things. Which means like, baby, I'm on the up. Anyway, um, director, DP, producer, sound mixer, AC, grip, gaffing, swing. Who else do we have? We had extra PAs on hand. At times, we didn't really have a lot of PAs, but there were people that stepped in and would help PA. We had BTS video and BTS video and photos because you're gonna want that, right? It supports your whole thing. So BTS video and photography and PAs. Let's make that plural. I want to say that was pretty much our whole crew for this portion. Now, in the post end, which is, excuse me, after you finish filming, we also added on a person for the sound design, like somebody that, makes the door sound like a closing door, makes the faucet sound like a faucet, makes footsteps sound like footsteps, all those things. So you have sound design, we have someone to do the score, which is all that music. You have a colorist that's gonna make all the colorist. Um, of course, you have an editor. sometimes assistant editors, etc. But we're in the indie world, so that's all gonna have to be one person for right now. Editor and sound design, score, colorist. We have finishing design. Let's leave it for there for right now. All of these people came from this and this, the deck and the script, and me producing and talking to them again about what I wanted to do and how I was going to do it. I want to move this camera a little bit, but then are y'all too far? Y'all ain't nobody here, so I can just talk. Okay. Um. So idea, deck, crew. So now I use the deck, I pitch, I secure locations. Oh yeah, you can see. So I secure the locations. Locations. The next thing that you want to do is after you get all these people schedules, their schedules. When are they available? When are they not available? How can we make all of this overlap? What would make the most sense? At the same exact time that I'm doing this indie producing, I'm also taking the script and I'm breaking down the script. As I'm writing this out, it feels insane that I was doing this. Like most of the time on my own. That's crazy. So breaking down the script. When you're breaking down the script, if you could have another producer or yeah, somebody else do it, great. But you break down the script, you're going to tag it, which is like identifying locations, identifying things like this. She wore a denim shirt. If there's a scene that's important where she takes off the denim shirt and then whatever happens, then baby, we need to write that there was a denim shirt. We need to tag denim shirt. Okay? All the things that would fall under wardrobe, but we want to put everything. If she's going and she's sipping a cup of coffee, well, we were talking about a high school story, but in my story, if there's a mom and she's sipping a cup of coffee, then we need a cup. Look at this cup. Small one. I didn't even plan that, but SMWR pictures, baby. SMWR.pictures. Go check out our site to see our slate. But you want to tag your script. You want to break it down so you know every single thing that your script needs. Is there a new story? Does she drink coffee? Do we need a shirt? Do we need a couch? Is there supposed to be a bed in the room? Like all the things need to be tagged. And most filmmaking softwares have like assets and elements that you can just click it and they make tagging easy. And if you need any help with that, just reach out to me and I can try and tell you about it or figure that out with you. You break down the script, you get everyone's schedules. I personally, they do this on the computer, but I did it like how I'm doing this. I put it on my wall and I would use different circle stickers for everyone's names because I needed to see in a big space. I know that you could just program on your computer, but sometimes I would like not see with the screen so small, like that this person isn't available on this day or that they said X, Y, Z. So I would put, let's say this person wasn't available, I would have a red dot next to their name for any day they weren't available, and I would put red dots on the different dates. So if we had the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, and this person said they're not available 12th and the 13th, there would be two red dots by the 12th and the 13th with their initials, and then I can like look and see, oh, we can't shoot that day because X, Y, Z. Lest we not forget, we also need to make sure we cast. We need our actors, baby. Now, in my case, I was the lead actor, so that was helpful. But I also needed my supporting cast and crew, not crew, but my supporting cast. So, casting, you want to audition, you want to do callbacks, you want to talk to people, do some chemistry reads, see how it feels. Do they feel good? Do you feel good? And using that deck and using your script, especially if you have no money, you want to get people involved that feel good about it too and that believe in what you're doing and believe that you're going to make something professional that is worth them giving the amount of time and support that they're going to give to your project. Now, something that I skipped over that I think is super important is with my crew and my people, something that I had decided to do is to give back end points. Now, back end points, which I will make a note here, I think is great. Back end points, I think is great, especially for the indie sphere. Um, because if you ain't got no money, baby, how are we equitably taking care of people? So the way that I did that was when you have a project and if it goes to a space of you selling it or you making any money, back in points is saying, hey, there's this many points of the project. Let's say there's 100 points, right? But your production company, insurance, blah, 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 takes up this many points. So let's say it's 40 points. Let's say it's 50 points to make it easy. 50 points. So you have 50 points available that are open that maybe you just own as the writer, producer, actress. I now said, hey, I'll split up their points and I'll give you 5 points and you 5 points and you 5 points and you 5 points and you 5 points. Obviously, that would add up to 50 very fast, but all my big key players received points, and those were also essentially the people that were there almost every single day on set. They received points in some form or another for their time and effort. Meaning that at any point, if we make money, they're gonna make money because we also did not do a tier sort of break that. That's too complicated. But if we make money, they'll make money back in points, allowing them to know that hey, you got a stake in this too. So you should want this to win, and you should help push this to win because if this wins, you win and our back end points are in perpetuity. So, in 20 years from now, if whoever wanted to buy our estate for $100 million, all those people still make money. Back end points. Okay, so location, schedule, breaking down the script, tagging, casting your actors, back end points to secure all those people and help you incentivize them. What else do we need to be thinking of as we get our schedules down? If you can afford it, you might not be able to, but if you can, rehearsing. Man, I'm so sure I spelled that wrong. Whatever. It's imagine it's spelled right. But if you can rehearse, that would be amazing. Um, and then we had scouting, right? So I did know that I wanted to use certain locations. So I secured those locations. Thankfully, they said yes. And then I was able to take my DP and my director to those locations so that they can figure out what equipment do we need, what lighting support, etc. So with that, then we knew what type of lighting support and what type of grip and gaffing package we would need, which is like you have your lights, but then the things that hold your lights, those like sticks and poles and all that, that's like all your gaffing stuff, apple boxes, etc. Not gaffing, grip stuff, apple boxes, things that you use to make something look different. Like you need to get all of that. That's it, more equipment. Let's just call it equipment. So you need to secure your equipment. And again, this is all very not manageable, but possible with relationships, with having a good producer on board, with just telling people like you got to talk about what you're interested in and your film and what you're doing. So we have equipment. Now, this is specifically and distinctly for making a movie with no money. If you wanted to make your movie for money, you could take all of this and go to a crowdfunding website like Kickstarter, like Indiegogo, etc. And you can put this up there and you would be, I feel like, in good standing. The thing about those platforms is while they can bring a lot of people, they also take a percentage of, what you're making, etc. But baby, they can help you win. You just have to have the time to do that. In my specific case, I was making a movie and I did not have the time. Okay. I had the clarity that I received a vision from source, but I did not have the time. Source said you ain't got no time. You making this movie. Yeah, right now. So take this and go fundraise. And then you can make it with some sort of money. But if you're not, then we continue. If you can't, because you're making this movie tomorrow, then we continue. And you can always even make some of these even a little softer, but not really. All right, so you get your equipment. Cool. Back end points, all those things, contracts. Have people sign contracts, especially with this back end point thing. Contracts. Okay, cool. So now let's just fast forward because I'm getting tired of talking, honestly. But we do that. Let's jump over to production. Production is when we are filming the movie. So you've now scheduled out your days based off of the schedules of who we know is available, what actors, etc. You're going to take your schedule, plan in a rainy day, plan in a break day. So ideally, I would love to not have more than 4 days. 4 days and then break max. Because honestly, by day 3, you start feeling a little washed. So if you could do every 3 days and break, but 4 days break, then maybe another 4 days, maybe a three. In my case, we had 4 days, then we had a 2 day break, I want to say, and then we had to go 8 days in a row, and that was insanity. Or maybe it was with 3 days, and then we had a 1 day break, and then we had another. It was something like that. It was crazy. It was insanity. I can go back and look at it and tell you the specifics again in another video. But you get your schedule. Try and keep a rainy day in there if you can, if you need to reshoot something or do something. But now we're in production. For production, one of the key things, if you don't got no money and you're filming something and you manage to get all these people on board for all the stuff that you're doing, you make sure that this is, if you get nothing else, take this. Feed them people. Feed them well. Feed them good. Okay? Now, a way that is super helpful to feed people and something I promote people using is utilize, especially if you're in the indie space, utilize 2-for-1 deals. So on Uber, we budgeted and tried to account for doing 2-for-1 deals because the most likely you're gonna have long days. Like your indie film set with not enough people, your days may run long, and if they don't run over, they still may run long and strong. So if you get a 2-for-1 deal, then this person could have let's say it's burgers for this example. They could have their burger now with their fries and their drink, whatever, and then later